Splatoon 3 kinda sucks now. I have been playing this game from the beginning and have over 3,000 hours logged into this game, and over the course of my playtime I have noticed a disturbing trend. The longer the game has gone on, the less fun the game has become. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love this game, but I can't lie and say that I don't often look back on the earlier days of the game and think to myself, man, it sure was more fun back then. You see, Splatoon 3 has received many content updates over the last 2 years in the form of seasons, and in each season, we see new maps, new weapon kits, balancing changes, and sometimes reworks of existing maps. Sometimes we will even see entirely new, special weapons added into the game. This may sound well and good, but the longer these updates have gone on, I've noticed that I haven't been satisfied with most of them. In fact, I've actually been rather unhappy with the more recent seasons. Let me explain. For starters, map design in Splatoon 3 has always been kind of poor. Mincemeat Metalworks is a prime example of this, and while the older maps have been reworked to be better than they originally were, the newer maps leave a rather sour taste in my mouth. The biggest issue with Splatoon 3's maps is that they simply do not offer a wide range of playstyles. The game seems to heavily favor long-range weapons on most maps, such as the E-Liter, Hydra, and Rapid Blaster. This, in and of itself, isn't a bad thing, but factor in the lack of coverage and huge choke points on most maps, and it becomes clear that long-range weapons have a significant advantage in any competent lobby of players, and maps added to the game over time have done very little to address this issue. Take, for example, Crab Lake Capital. In theory, the stage's many greats should allow for a more dynamic interaction between shorter range weapons to take on something like a Hydra. But in practice, any Hydra or E-Leader user can easily pick off opponents at long range absurdly easily, as they can also just fire right through the floor they're standing on, making it exceedingly difficult for, say, a Splattershot user to really make any kind of push towards them, as the stage offers very little cover to hide behind and take advantage of. Another example of this is Bluefin Depot, a returning map from Splatoon 1. All players have to do is equip a long-range weapon like the E-Liter again and stay on the upper section of the stage, and they have virtually a clear line of sight on anyone on that side of the map, especially so on splat zones. Not only does it make it very easy to pick off opponents on the zone, but you can see any potential threats coming a mile away, offering other players few options in flanking and actually taking out said E-Liter. I am not good at sniping in Splatoon. Historically, I've always been pretty bad at it, and even I have very little difficulty in just staying in one spot and taking out enemies whenever they try to move into the middle of most maps, even in the top 1000 of X rank. The special weapons in Splatoon 3 are perhaps the best in any of the three games. They aren't as annoying as they were in Splatoon 1, and they're not as unbalanced as they were in Splatoon 2. For a long time, actually, I praised this game for having relatively balanced specials that felt satisfying both to use and to counter. However, the game has over time added new special weapons into the game that in my opinion are completely antithetical to the game's design. Before, every special felt like you could counter it, which gave the game a sense of extra strategy that I did not feel in either Splatoon 1 or 2 in regards to special weapons play. Unfortunately, Nintendo felt the need to add in the Kraken Royale, an uncounterable and rather dangerous special. The Kraken makes the user entirely invincible to all damage for a set duration of time, meaning that the only option its opponents have is to either dodge the Kraken, which can be rather difficult, or to simply flee. This is entirely against the design of virtually every special weapon in the game. Sure, the crab tank is tough, but the user can be sniped out of it, or a team can focus their fire onto a crab tank and destroy it very quickly. The Reef Slider makes the user invincible, but it cannot be turned and the user is very exposed after using it, making it more useful for very quick bursts of offense or for surprise attacks. The Kraken, however, cannot be destroyed. It can be aimed freely after use, and it has no trouble keeping up with foes that try to flee from it. This means there is virtually nothing players can do to counter the Kraken, and it often leads to moments of frustration. This could easily be fixed by giving the Kraken a health bar like the Crab Tank, or even like the Baller from Splatoon 2. This way, a team can focus their fire on the Kraken and take it out before it has a chance to do too much harm. Another annoying special that has been introduced into the game is the triple splashdown. I don't have too much to say about this one, but it's even more of a panic button than it was in 2. If you're able to pop it off right on top of someone, it is essentially a free kill since most people are going to target the player as opposed to the hands that are honestly the real threat here. It is very easy to just dive into a group of enemies, pop your splashdown, and have a pretty high chance of taking 2 to 3 players down with you. It does at least take some strategy to do this, and it is also counterable, but nonetheless, it is still rather annoying to take out the splashdown user just to end up dying anyways, or to try and flee just to end up getting caught in the huge radius of the splashdown. In short, I wish they had just never added these specials into the game. Alright, so I don't think I'm making any controversial statements here, but the matchmaking in Splatoon 3 might be some of the worst I've ever seen in an online multiplayer game. Now, I'm not trying to say, oh, Nintendo gives me bad teammates, but I am saying Nintendo tends to mismatch players according to their skill level. Very often, I find myself playing against people who are ranked far lower than me, so I just end up crushing them, or I am matched against 2 top 500 players and a top 10 player at the same time. This is especially bad at the beginning of a season when everyone's rank is reset back to S plus 0. I have no issue in making it to S plus 50 well before the end of a season, but for that first month, I often find myself just foregoing Splatoon altogether, opting instead to play Mario Kart or some other game because it's just so miserable playing in lobbies that are so grossly mismatched. Whether it's in my favor or not, it's no fun playing in lobbies that do not accurately reflect the skill level of the players involved. An easy way to fix this would be having players who finish a season with a high rank start the season with a higher rank than players who finished below them. Another critical issue is that for whatever reason, I always feel like the game will create matches where one team's kits will have an advantage over the other team's kits, such as one team having both long range and good painting abilities while the other team has very short range weapons with moderate painting ability. This is purely anecdotal, as is some of the other things in this video, but it happens so often that I can't help but wonder what in the world the matchmaking algorithm is thinking. This is an issue that, in my experience, has only gotten worse and worse with each passing season. All in all, these are just some of the problems I have with this game, and it seems like most of them have only continued to cause more problems as the game receives new updates and new content. I'm probably wrong about most of the stuff mentioned in this short video, but hopefully I was able to provide at least some sort of entertainment for you while you laugh at my hilariously bad takes. Anyways, there will always be at least one thing about this game that I will love until the end of time, and that is this critter's massive 5 head. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.